Desire is a fundamental aspect of the human experience, and yet, it's precisely this aspect that Buddhism teaches us can be a major obstacle on the path to inner peace. In Buddhism, desire is viewed as a root cause of suffering, not because desires themselves are inherently bad, but because they can lead us astray, away from the present moment and into a cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. When it comes to desires, I think many of us can relate to feeling overwhelmed by them. We want things, we want experiences, we want feelings, and sometimes it can feel like these desires are running the show. We get caught up in our fantasies, our longings, and our expectations, and before we know it, we're lost in a sea of craving. And let's be honest, it's exhausting. It's like we're constantly chasing after something that's just out of reach, leaving us feeling unfulfilled, anxious, and unhappy. Take social media, for example. We scroll through our feeds, comparing our lives to others, feeling like we need to have the latest gadget, the trendiest clothes, or the most exotic vacation. And before we know it, we're sucked into this never-ending cycle of wanting, and we lose sight of what's truly important to us. We start to believe that our worth is tied to our possessions, our accomplishments, or our social status, and it's a never-ending game of one-upmanship. This constant striving, this relentless pursuit of more, is precisely what Buddhism teaches us is the root of our suffering. We're trying to fill a void that can never be filled because the void is within us, not outside of us. We're trying to find happiness in external things rather than looking within. And so, we remain stuck, caught in this cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. But what if I told you that there's another way? What if I told you that desire doesn't have to be the enemy, but can actually be a powerful ally on the path to inner peace and enlightenment? This is precisely what Buddhist teachings have to say about desire. In Buddhism, the concept of attachment is key to understanding desire. Attachment is when we identify with our desires, when we make them a part of our sense of self. We think, I am my desires, and this creates a sense of ownership, a sense of ego. And it's precisely this ego that gets in the way of our true nature, our true self. But here's the thing. Desires themselves are not the problem. It's our attachment to them that is. So, how do we break free from attachment? How do we transform our desires into a source of strength rather than weakness? This is where the wisdom of Buddhist teachings comes in. According to the Buddha, the key to mastery is not to eliminate desires, but to understand them, to observe them, and to let go of our attachment to them. It's about recognizing that our desires are impermanent, ephemeral, and ultimately empty. One powerful insight from Buddhist philosophy is the concept of emptiness. Emptiness doesn't mean that things don't exist. It means that they don't exist independently. Our desires, our thoughts, our emotions, they're all interconnected, interdependent, and ultimately empty of a permanent, independent reality. And when we understand this, when we see the emptiness of our desires, we can begin to let go of our attachment to them. This is not to say that desires magically disappear. No, they're still very much present. But our relationship to them changes. We no longer identify with them. We no longer make them a part of our sense of self. We see them for what they are, fleeting, impermanent, and ultimately empty. And in this, we find freedom. The wise Buddhist teaching I want to leave you with today is this. Desires are not the enemy. Attachment is. When we understand this, when we let go of our attachment to our desires, we can transform them into a source of strength rather than weakness. We can use them to propel us forward on the path to inner peace, rather than holding us back. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the world of desires and Buddhism. I hope the insights shared in this video have been helpful in reframing your relationship with desire. And if you're interested in exploring more mindfulness and meditation content, be sure to check out my other videos.